My dear friends, welcome to Rajashekar classes on applied data science with Python. This is lecture number 160. In this lecture, we will try to understand inferences about the difference between two population proportions. So far, we measured the continuous variable from the population. If there is a categorical variable, obviously count is taken care. This is about sampling distribution of P1 bar minus P2 bar. This is simple slide. I think anybody can read and understand. It's a simple language. Here conditions are n1 p1 is greater than or equal to 5 and n1 into 1 minus p1 means I can say that is n1 q1. Just I request you to go through this slide. First this p1 minus p2, this particular p1 bar minus p2, it follows normal distribution. We will try to understand this concept after few seconds. First let me explain one simple concept. What is this? Point estimator of the difference between two population proportions. Here I have P1. What is P1? Proportion of the population of households aware of the product after new campaign. What is the relation between P1 and P1 bar? Just say this one. P1 bar is related to sample. That you must understand. It is sample. Just say sample of proportion. The same proportion of households aware of the product after the same thing. Just say proportion of the population of household aware of the product. Just before this I am adding this. Just sample. Just P1 is proportion of the population. P1 bar is sample proportion. That is the only difference. This one P1 is related to after new campaign. Just see after new campaign. P1 is proportion of the population. P1 bar is the sample proportion. That's the only basic difference. In that manner, what is P2? This is before new campaign, proportion of the population. This P2 bar as usual sample. Now, what is our intention? Just read these points. Our intention is, so we are going for new promotion. We have to see the effectiveness of the promotion, that is advertisement. So P1 bar and P2 bar is, as I told you, related to sample. We find the difference. Just what is the difference? P1 bar minus P2 bar. Is there any impact of the campaign? If I calculate P1 bar, that is 120 by 250. What is P1 bar? After campaigning, out of 250 people, 120 are aware of that campaign or promotion. P2 bar means before campaign, out of 150, only 60 people are aware of it. Now, if you find the difference 0.48 minus 0.40, that is 0.08, I can say there is an improvement of 8%, isn't it? Now, as usual, I already discussed what is left tail test, what is right tail test, what is two tail test. Same concept here in alternative hypothesis. If you have less than symbol, that is left tail test. In alternative hypothesis, if you have greater than symbol, that is right tail test is not equal symbol. That is known as two tail test. We are assuming the two population proportions. Here P1 is one population proportion, P2 is another population proportion. We are assuming that P1 equal to P2. We will try to understand this concept with the help of simple problem. Standard error P1 minus, this is again a formula, P into 1 minus P under root square root of this. This is pooled estimator of P. All these things we will try to understand what is this pooled estimation and standard error with the help of this is test statistics, P1 bar minus P2 bar by under root of P bar into 1 minus P bar. All these things we will try to understand. We will try to understand with the help of one simple problem. Just let me explain that problem. What is this problem? Hypothesis test about P1 minus P2. We will try to understand this problem. Let me read it again. What is this problem? Hypothesis test about P1 minus P2. Just let me read this problem. what it says, extracts of St. John's wort are widely used to treat depression. An article in the April 18, 2001 issue of the Journal of American Medical Association that is compared the efficacy of the standard extract of St. John's wort with placebo in 200 patients, outpatients. How many patients? There are 200. This is important point. 200 outpatients are there, isn't it? Outpatient diagnosed with major depression. Patients were randomly assigned to two groups. Means this one is divided randomly into two groups. Means I must assume one group is consist of 100 outpatients and another group is consist of 100 outpatients. One group received St. John's wort. One group is receiving St. John's wort and other receive placebo. After 8 weeks, 19 of the placebo, let me say my placebo, there are two things. One is John's wort and another one is placebo. After 8 weeks, 19 of the placebo treated patients showed improvement, isn't it? Whereas 27 of treated St. John's wort improved. Therefore, I can say placebo treatment, there are 19, this is important, 19 of the placebo treated out of 100. Therefore, placebo is, I can say, this is 19, this is, whereas 27 with, what is that, 27 of the St. John's wort improved. Is there any reason to believe that St. John's wort is effective in treating major depression using 0.05 level of significance? As usual, we collected this problem from applied statistics and probability for engineers. This you must remember these values, how many number of outpatients are there, how many are placebo treated, how many of St. John worts are improved, what is the level of significance. What you have to do, is there any reason to believe, means what is status quo? Status quo is no reason, isn't it? Therefore, let me write my status quo. The parameters of interest are P1 and P2. The proportion of patients. What is P1, P2? This is important. Proportion of the patients who improve the following treatments. How many treatments are there? One is St. John's wort and another one is placebo treatment. I'm designating this St. John's wort with P1 whereas placebo with P2. Now, let me proceed further. What is my null hypothesis? P1 equal to P2. There is no difference. That is status quo. And alternative hypothesis P1 not equal to P2. And your level of significance alpha is 0.05. Your Z naught, this is a formula which we have seen few minutes back. This is formula P1 cap minus P2 cap by under root of P cap into 1 minus P cap into 1 by n1 plus 1 by n2. How will it be? Just see, these are the variables which I identified. What is your P1? P1 is related to St. John's. Have you remembered that? In problem itself we were discussing. How many St. John's related patient? 27. There are two groups, 100 first group, 100 another group, totally 200 outpatients. That is 27 by 100. This is related to St. John's. And there is another treatment, placebo treatment. Whereas placebo treatment, now 19 out of 100, that is 0.9. There n1 equal to n2, that is 100 comma 100. What is this P cap? We already discussed this formula that x1 plus x2 by n1 plus n2. x1 is related to 19 is related to placebo and this 27 related to St. John's treatment. By total is 200, that is 0.23 this value, isn't it? What is my P cap value? 0.23. How can I calculate my this value? Which value? Z naught, as I discussed. This is P1 cap, that is 0.27. This is P2 cap, that is 0.19. P already I calculated 0.23. This is 1 minus P. P into 1 minus P. 1 minus 0.23, that is 0.77. 1 by n1 plus 1 by n2. If I calculate, I am getting 1.35. Isn't it? What is this? This is Z test. Z test, how can I say at 0.05 level of significance, two-tailed test means here I can say like this. This is 1.96, this value, just try to recall my previous lectures. I already explained how this 1.96 will come for 5% level of significance for two-tailed test. This is minus 1.96, isn't it? What is your Z0 value? 1.35. This 1.35 is somewhere here. This 1.35 is in acceptance region. This region is acceptance region, isn't it? I can say as it is an acceptance region, I must say just 1.35 does not exceed this Z value at 0.05 level of significance. Therefore, that's 1.35. Your calculated value is less than 1.96. It's not exceeding 1.96. Therefore, we cannot reject null hypothesis. That's our conclusion. We cannot reject null hypothesis. Even you can apply your p-value approach. What is your p-value approach? What is the value of p here? Anyway, how to calculate this p I will discuss. When you look at this p-value 0.177, therefore 0.177 means, if you compare, when you look at the p-value, that is 0.177 is more than your 0.177 is more than 0.05, isn't it? This is p-value approach. We have to accept null hypothesis. What you have to do here? Accept H0. There is insufficient evidence to support the claim that St. John's wort is effective in treating major depression, isn't it? Just a simple one. How can I do it on Python notebook? Even you can write Python code. How can I write Python code? Just say we will do with the help of Python. You can type Jupyter on Jupyter notebook and verify it. First we will find out the pooled proportion. With the help of Python, we will learn how to use two sample proportion test. What is this? This is I can say import math. This libraries we know diff. We define a new function 2_sample_proportion. First we will find out the pooled proportion. What is my pooled proportion? Pooled one is, what is my pooled proportion? That is n1 into p1 plus n2 into p2 by n1 plus n2. This is a formula. Just see this one. This is actually p1 into n1. This one is n1. Anyway, I will show you in Jupyter notebook. n1 into p1, n2 into p2 by n1 plus n. This is p_ pool. That is essentially pooled proportion, isn't it? Now, what is my formula? My formula is z equal to, what is my formula? p1 bar minus p2 bar by under root of pq into 1 by n1 plus 1 by n2. This is my formula. How can I calculate this? See, this is I have got this p_pool into 1 minus p_pool into 1 by n1 plus 1 by n2. That is this one, this value pq into 1 by n1 plus n2. This is value. This is p, this is q into 1 by n1 plus n2. For this I need square root, isn't it? That's what math.sqrt of x. Yes, that math.sqrt of x means you are getting this denominator part. I am getting denominator part. What is z? p1 minus p2 by s. We know what is p1. p1 minus p2 by s. p2 by s. s. This is s, isn't it? Now, depending on z value, if z is less than 0, stats.norm.cdf. This is p-value. P-value means cumulative distribution function, that area under the normal distribution curve. If z is greater than 0, if z is greater than 0, you must subtract from 1. As it is two-tailed test, we are multiplying with 2. Just pass these parameters. What is my p1? 0.27. In problem we already discussed how to do this one. This is 0.19. This is first sample size is n1, second sample size is n2. Just if you pass it, you will get the values. What are the values? Z value, my Z value is 1.34 and your P value is 0.17. I already discussed your Z 1.34. If it is Z, depending on Z value, we can decide whether to accept null hypothesis or we discussed both. We used this Z value as well as P value to test the null hypothesis. Even we concluded what we what we concluded, we accepted null hypothesis, isn't it? Accepted null hypothesis. What's the reason? Your z value 1.34 is just, it is an acceptance region. Why? Because it is less than your 1.96, and your p value is also is more than 0.17. This when you look at the p value, 0.17 is more than 0.05. Therefore, we have to accept null hypothesis. Whether you make use z value, whether you make use p value, this your conclusion, end result is same. How one can do it on Python notebook? Just your Jupyter notebook. How will you do it? It's same process which we discussed. Just say this one. This is my Jupyter notebook. From SciPy import starts. If I import math, define 2 underscore samp underscore proportion. This is p1, p2 and n1 and n2. P underscore pool p1 n1. This is pooled proportion. P underscore pool p1 n1 plus p2 n2 by n1 plus n2. This x is nothing but P and PQ into 1 by N1 plus 1 by N2. S equal to math dot SQ as QRT means this is denominator of your Z value, and your Z is P1 minus P2 by S. If Z less than 0, what you have to do? I already discussed. That is CDF function, it will calculate. And if Z is less than 0, what you have to do? It must be depending on Z value. If Z less than 0, P underscore value equals start norm dot CDF of Z. If else Z is greater than 0, 1 you have to subtract from 1 you have to multiply with 2. Why? Because it is two-tailed test. Anyway, just now I executed this one. I have got this one. What is this? 1 point. Just if you want, just you can run it again. 1.34. This is my Z value and this is my P value. Just go through this lecture. If you have any difficulty, just please keep a comment. Thank you very much.